Hey guys, welcome to part 9 of my reference playlist. Gosh, it seems like forever since I did one of the Academy videos, but I have been surprisingly busy this summer with work, weddings, more work, and I just need a break from the complicated stuff for a while, so I'm going to slow things down with some simpler projects at present just to reset my fatigue level and have some time out. But rather than leave you hanging with nothing, I've lined up some pastry projects to keep you entertained. Anyway, with that said, in today's video I'll be making a cherry pie. Let's get into it. The materials you will need are some double knit acrylic yarn in taupe and a cherry red. You will also need a round wooden disc to the size of your liking, but this is optional. You might also want some beads, and I have these red transparent glass seed beads for this video, but these again are optional as well. I will of course list all the materials I use in the description box below, so don't worry about remembering anything at this point. I begin by making the pie base. I crochet a circle that will be large enough to cover this size of the wooden disc I've chosen. Now, I did mention before that the disc was optional, and it is. I've chosen to use it because I want the base to be really flat, and the disc will help with that. You can use other sizes of discs, and the larger the disc used, the larger the pie will be, and vice versa. Once I have the pie base at the correct size, I glue down the disc to the inside to flatten the base, and then carry on to build up the side walls. Once I reach the height I like, I move on to the top of the pie. I start off the cherry topping section with the red yarn and again crochet a circle. This is essentially a repeat of what I did for the crust, except for one small change. I get to the point where the top nearly matches the base, but in the last round I switch colour to the taupe before completing it. By doing the last round of the cherry topping in the taupe, none of the red will be visible in the next step as I slip stitch the two layers together. I then lightly stuff the pie with some quilt batting before closing the opening with more slip stitches. I then finish off the pie crust by doing some decorative stitches along the outer perimeter. So you can choose to do a puff stitch a reverse single crochet stitch, anything that will make it look like, you know what a pie looks like. That little decorative edge. I can't really describe it more, I'm not a baker, but that bit. Pinching, whatever you want to call it. Finally, I cut and weave in the yarn. To do the lattice work, I use that final round of stitches I crocheted around the cherry topping as anchors for my chain stitch strands. This can be done in a couple of ways, but I'll show you the simplest. Crochet some chains that fit across the top of the pie. I suggest starting from the middle and working your way outwards. Once you have enough, sew these into place on both sides. To create the lattice, lay the second layer of chains across the first layer. Sew down one side into place, then weave them over and under the first layer of chains before sewing them down on the opposite end. When you complete all the strands, you should have a lovely looking lattice pattern across the top of the piece. And with that, this is actually done and dusted. This is a perfectly good place to stop, and I'm sure you can agree that this looks absolutely fine. But personally, I want to add some of those optional beads I mentioned earlier, so let's give that a go. To give it more of that glossy, just baked glazed fruit look, I want to add the beads. Using some invisible thread, I go ahead and sew on the red beads into the square areas of the lattice work. This can take an age, by the way, so do yourself a favour and either do the topping with a bobble or puff stitch and be done with it, but if you have the time and patience, I think the beads probably look a little better. Anyway, while I finish off the beading and before we get to the reveal, I would just like to thank you all for watching, and as always, if you'd like to see more, then please like, share, comment, and even consider subscribing. If you are feeling generous, then also please consider buying me a cup of coffee on Ko-fi. The link to my Ko-fi page will be included in the description box below, and any and all donations will be greatly appreciated. Also, don't forget to hit that bell button to be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that, enjoy the beauty shots, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!